Wednesday, October 8th at 1:30. Does anyone need assistance with this hearing? Seeing none, do any of the commissioners have a conflict with this file, number ZC0009-25?
Commissioner Williams has no conflict.
Commissioner Domke has no conflict.
Commissioner Korn has no conflict. So how this will go is the staff will present their report. The applicant provides an overview of project and answers questions from the board. Then we'll open up for a public testimony in support, neutral, then opposed. And then we'll close public testimony. The applicant has rebuttal time, and then there will be deliberation between the board, a motion, and a roll call vote. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to planning.
Before we do that, did you want to announce?
Oh, yes, I'm going to make an announcement that the last two files on the docket today, AM 0003-25 and ZC 0008-25 will not be heard today, and they will be postponed for a later date. So if anybody is here today for those, we will not be hearing those today.
So the date will be continued to 12.
December 10th at 1:30 p.m. All right, planning.
Sorry, I'm having a little technical issue.
Are you having a Zoom issue?
I'm sorry?
Are you having a Zoom issue on your side?
Oh, it's up there is not what's on my screen, so.
What are you looking for?
Well, I live all around Lower Pack, and I heard that there's supposed to be a hearing about building.
On the golf course?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is it?
Yes.
All right, good.
Sorry about that. Dave Fisher, Bonner County Planning. Here on zone change 925 from rural 10 to rural 5 for Nichols. Project summary, the applicant is requesting a zone change from rural 10 to rural 5 on one parcel, approximately 10 acres. Project is located off the Cross Road in section 27, Township 57 North, Range 3 West. And the comprehensive plan designation is rural residential. And this request was evaluated against the standards for rural 10 and rural 5. The applicable code sections. Background on this parcel, the use is currently residential, unplatted, approximately 10 acres, zoned rural 10. Again, land use designation is rural residential. Access, the parcel is accessed from the Cross Road, a privately owned and maintained 60-foot graveled easement. Environmental factors on this property include map slopes of 0 to 30%, shown in the red portions on the picture. Site does not contain mapped wetlands. Site does not contain frontage to a mapped water body. And the parcel is within special flood hazard area zone X. Soil types include Ponderay silt loam and Dufert rock outcrop complex. Services to this property are individual well, individual septic system, served by West Side Fire District, Northern Lights, and within the Lake Ponderay School District number 84. Agencies replying with a comment on this file include the Bonner County Historical Society, the City of Dover, Idaho Department of Water Resources, and Lake Ponderay School District number 84. Agencies replying no comment included Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Idaho Fish and Game, Kootenai Pend Oreille Sewer District, and TC Energy. And public comments have been received. Bonner County Revised Code 12323B. Use of this zone is appropriate in areas designated by the comprehensive plan as follows. Rural 10 in areas designated as rural residential in the comp plan that meet one or more of the following criteria. A, characterized by slopes that are steeper than 30%. B, located within critical wildlife habitat as identified by federal, state, or local agencies. C, contain prime agricultural soils. D, served by a network of public and or private roadways that generally do not meet applicable roadway standards set forth in Title II of this code or Appendix A of this title or are absent. E, within the floodway, or F, contain limited access to public services. Again, 12323B designates R5 being appropriate in areas designated rural residential in the comp plan that are already developed at or near one dwelling unit per 5 acre density and or do not meet the criteria for R10 above. Recap of the standards reviewed. And here we show the subject parcel has R5 on each side. And since this staff report was written, that parcel to the west has actually been divided into 2 parcels now. For rural 10 being characterized by slopes steeper than 30%, this parcel does not appear to be characterized by slopes steeper than 30% as shown in red. Parcel has mostly sloping areas in the northern half, but appears to generally consist of areas with slopes that range between 0 and 29.9% grade. According to the land use portion of the comp plan for density ranges, properties that are level to moderately sloped are appropriately sized to be 5 to 10 acres. For being located within critical wildlife habitat, no critical wildlife area was determined by any agency. For containing prime agricultural soils, this parcel contains Dufert Rock Outcrop Complex, 5 to 45% slopes, and Pend Oreille Silt Loam, 5 to 45% slopes. These soil types are listed as not prime farmland. There's the 2 soil types on the property. For being served by a network of public and or private roadways that generally do not meet applicable roadway standards, access to the parcel is by a combination of privately owned and maintained roads and state of Idaho owned and maintained roads. The crossroad via Eagle View Lane via State Highway 2. The construction standards of the crossroad and Eagle View Lane are unknown. Neither Bonner County Road and Bridge nor Idaho Transportation Department provide comment on the zone change. Within the floodway, the risk of flooding of the parcel is minimal as the parcel is not within a mapped floodplain or floodway per FEMA firm panel listed. For containing limited access to public services, the parcel has access to public services. Public services that are available for this property include fire protection from Westside Fire, emergency services from Bonner County Sheriff and Bonner County EMS, power from Northern Lights, and other amenities or private well and individual septic system. For rural 5 being developed at or near one dwelling unit per 5 acres, 49 of the 67 parcels within 2,000 feet of the subject parcel are below 10 acres. Of the 18 that are 10 acres or more, 4 are developed at one residence per 5 acres or more. Again, that has actually increased since this was written. 39 of the 67 parcels are already zoned R5. Looking at only the surrounding properties that are currently zoned R10, 19 of the 28 are under 5 acres or developed at one dwelling per 5 acres or more. and/or not meeting criteria for R10. The property does not appear to be characterized by steep slopes of 30% or greater. It does not have any identified critical wildlife habitat. It is not within a mapped floodway. It does have access to public services and is served by a network of private and public roads, and it does not contain soils classified as prime farmland. Map showing parcels within 2,000 feet of the subject parcel. And because there's so many, put them all in a spreadsheet. The yellow are the ones at or below 10 acres. And the other ones are kind of color coded per the zone, dark blue being those zoned R10 or split zoned R10 and R5, light blue being those zoned R5 already. And the zoning commission recommendation on this file was to approve. Hearing was on August 21st, 2025 with a 3-0 vote. And as only a recommendation, final decision rests with the governing body after completion of public hearing and consideration of all relevant oral and written testimony and evidence. Any questions?
I don't have any questions for staff.
Commissioner Domke, do you have any questions?
I do not have, no questions at this time, thank you.
I don't either. Thank you. At this time, does the applicant have a presentation?
Don't really have a presentation, pretty much all the bullet points, everything's covered there. Only thing that I could see of concern is the 30% grade where there's the red, but that's, when you're on my property, it's literally like boulders and stuff that show up as like a steep. So it's kind of misleading even for the little bit that shows there. So it's the only thing that I'd clarify, I guess, on there, so.
Okay. You have any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any questions for applicant.
Commissioner Domke, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, at this time we'll go to public testimony. Is there anybody in the room or online in support of this? Seeing none, is there anybody in the room or online that has a neutral comment? Seeing none, is there anybody in the room or online that has an opposed comment? Seeing none, we're going to close public testimony. Applicant rebuttal has nothing. Deliberation between the board.
I'll be happy to start if you'd like.
Okay, thanks.
So my assessment, I started by looking at the rural 10 standards to determine whether or not I believe the parcel complied with rural 10. When I looked at the steep slopes in the mapping, while there are some areas greater than 30% slope, my perspective on that is that it does not subdivide the property or limit access to areas for development. So when I look at the county code 12-323 that describes rural district zoning, A3 talks about encouraging conservation development configurations that includes reduce infrastructure costs. And so that's how I've always interpreted the steep slopes aspect. And I don't see that as being problematic on this parcel, given the location and configuration of those steep slopes. I then look at the other criteria. There is no critical wildlife habitat identified, no prime ag soils identified. I understand, the network of the roads that it's served by. I understand the private road being gravel has a 60-foot wide easement and not being within a floodway. So as I go through, also containing limited access to public services. So as I go through and look at that, I don't believe it qualifies for the rural 10 based on those standards. And so then when I look at rural 5, I cannot confidently say that the first standard of being developed at or near one dwelling unit per 5 acres, it's kind of a mixed density area. And we have some very large parcels and then some very small parcels. So the aggregate of that is a little bit hard to clearly define. But I am willing to rely on, I do not believe it meets the criteria for R10. So because of that, I believe it does meet the criteria for R5.
I concurred that what I could safely say is the part in R5 that it didn't meet R10. And it is in line, the note from Dover, that it's in line with that comprehensive plan was also something I did go through all of the notes, and there wasn't anything objecting to kind of that zone change. And so I concurred on that level of, it seems that it, on a more likely than not, fits better R5 than it does R10.
Okay, so at this time, I think I'd like to run through the worksheet and check our boxes. And I think we'll start with the Bonner County Revised Code 12-215.
So, for the sake of this file, and you tell me if you're opposed to this. So, when I went through the worksheet, I didn't see something that it was not in compliance with on our worksheet. It looked to be in compliance with it based on the comparison of the R5 to R10.
So you would like to just expedite this and check all the boxes, yes, except for 12-323B1?
Well, that's where I'm telling you my answers in advance.
Yeah, that's
Because
fine.
we hit all of them in the way in which we deliberated. This one was a little bit more straightforward because it didn't fit R10. And so it looked like our answers are likely going to mirror that unless someone has, and we could go through and say which ones we didn't hit a yes on, only because it can be long. And we might get through, this one was a little bit more straightforward, I thought.
You okay with that, Commissioner Domke?
Yeah, it's a short worksheet. I think if we just walk through it, we'll be done.
Okay, so which one do we have a no on?
For me, that would be 12-323B1, the R10.
Myself included?
Yeah.
Okay, all the other ones were a yes on?
That's my opinion.
Yes, I concur.
Okay. So
And-
at this time, yes, Commissioner Domke.
I would be also, for clarification, I would include that with each of these items, these code sections for our reason statement, that I adopt the findings of the staff report, and that my primary reason for 12-323B2, the last item, meeting the requirements for rural 5, is based on the fact that it does not meet the requirements for rural 10.
I agree.
Okay.
So at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, just ignore it.
All right. I move to approve project file ZC 0009-25, requesting a zone change from rural 10 to rural 5, finding that it is not in conflict with the policy of the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan, and that it is in accord with Bonner County Revised Code as enumerated in the following conclusions of law. Conclusion 1, the proposal is not in conflict with the policies of the Bonner County Comprehensive Plan. Conclusion 2, the proposal was reviewed by compliance with Title 12 Bonner County Revised Code and was found to be in compliance. Conclusion 3, the proposal is in accord with the purpose of the Rule 5 zoning district provided at Chapter 3, Title 12 Bonner County Revised Code. The decision is based upon the evidence submitted up to the time of the staff report was prepared and testimony received at this hearing. I further move to adopt the reasoned statement as discussed in deliberation at this hearing and the analysis as set forth in the staff report or as amended during this hearing, specifically noting adopting the findings of fact with delineation for stating that R5 requires that it not meet R10 as noted by Commissioner Domke and concurred with by the board, and direct planning staff to direct the reasoned statement to reflect the motion as set forth in Idaho Code Section 676535. Have the chair sign and transmit to all interested parties. This action does not result in a taking of private property.
Second?
Do we have any further deliberation?
None?
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Korn,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes,
Commissioner Domke,
Yes.
Motion passes.
move to approve an ordinance of Bonner County, Idaho, the number to be assigned, citing its authority and providing for the amendment of the official zoning map of Bonner County by the classification of lands located in Section 27, Township 57, North Idaho 3, West Boise Meridian, Bonner County, Idaho 2, Rule 5, and providing for an effective date.
Second?
Any further deliberation on this?
None?
Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Korn,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes,
Commissioner Domke,
Yes.
Motion passes. Moving on to the next file.
1 second. I didn't read the next, just a second here. Pause for a second.
All right, I'm paused.
When I did the ordinance read, I didn't read the rules underneath there. Do we need those to go back and reread or just make a statement that we're agreeing to those items? The motion after the ordinance, after you accept the ordinance. You want me to go back and read it and revote on the ordinance? Because I didn't say, I'll just do it, because you're looking for it and I noticed it after.
On the zone change?
Yeah, or after the ordinance.
I don't have any rules.
I'll go back to where I'm talking about. No,
Wouldn't that only be, Commissioner, if it was a denial?
it has an approved deny on the sheet here, so did you want, let's see, let me go back to that page to make sure. It's not like there's enough pages here. Here we go. I clicked off after I was like, oh, did I need to read more? So just let me double check. So it's after the zone change, when you're approving the ordinance. That's what I clicked off of after I made the motion.
So the staff report, we have the motion
Yeah.
to approve and then.
You're good,
Yeah.
the ordinance.
Yep.
I just saw a motion after I clicked off, and then I was like, wait, did I miss something? All right, we're good.
Okay.
Back to you.
Next file. S0004-24. Does anyone need assistance for this hearing? Seeing none. Do any commissioners have a conflict with file number S0004-24?
Commissioner Williams has no conflict.
Commissioner Domke has no conflict.
Commissioner Korn has no conflict. I will turn this over to planning staff.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon, Commission and members of the public. We're here to discuss file S0004-24, Golden Tee Estates 11 Edition lot. This request is for 23 lots and a 23 lot subdivision. So the project summary, the proposed subdivision is part of a planned unit development, Golden Tee Estates, planning file number C832-05. Subject property is approximately 7.57 acres of platted land located within Idaho Club on Idaho Club Drive in Section 36, Township 58 North, Range 1 West of Boise Meridian, Idaho. The parcel is currently zoned recreation with a land use designation of resort community. The applicant is requesting to replat the lot into 23 residential lots ranging in size from 0.15 acres to 0.43 acres. This is the preliminary plat that was submitted as part of this application. Some background on this particular lot. It exists as vacant. It is platted. It is approximately 7.57 acres, zoned recreation with the land use designation of resort community. Access to the property is located on North Idaho Club Drive, a privately owned and maintained right-of-way. Idaho Club is accessed from Highway 200, a Idaho state-owned and maintained paved right-of-way. Services that are available to this lot. A will-serve letter was received from TIC Utilities LLC, an affiliated of Valiant Idaho LLC, with the intent and significant capacity to provide water. Sewer will-serve letter was received from Gem State Infrastructure LLC to provide sewer service to the proposed subdivision. Electricity is going to be provided by Northern Lights Incorporated. Natural gas is Avista Utilities. Fire protection is Northside Fire District. It's within Lake Pend Oreille School District number 84 and is served by the ambulance district for Bonner County, as well as Pend Oreille Hospital, or within the Pend Oreille Hospital District.
Can I ask you a question on the will serve letter with the date of 2022? Do we know whether or not that's valid still for today? Is there like a time frame on will serve letters?
There's not by code. I'm not aware of that date, Commissioner. I'd have to look at that letter.
The letter is dated 11/2/2022.
Okay.
So I was curious if there was a time frame for will serve letters for projects.
They're required to submit them at the time of application, and that was the letter that was submitted at the time of application. Doesn't appear to be an expiration on it. Should they provide an updated one? I think they probably can, but I can let the applicant's rep address that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So some environmental factors that are found on this particular lot. It does have map slopes of 0 to 29% or greater in grade. Site does not contain any mapped wetlands. Site does not contain any mapped water bodies, streams, lakes, or rivers. The site does contain two different types of soils, one being Pend Oreille silt loam, which is a not prime farmland, and mission silt loam, which is farmland of statewide importance if drained. The parcels are located within Special Flood Hazard Zone X and not located within a floodway per the Firm Panel 16017C0735E with an effective date of November 18th, 2009. These next two slides are the applicable standards that this request was reviewed against, and we will go over those in detail. So starting with 12-268, the application process. Sorry. So public agencies were notified of this application on July 1st of 2025. 12610B is the minimum lot size required is 12,000 square feet for the recreation district where all urban services are available. The associated PUD condition A7 number 3 of files C8325-05 was approved with the lot size permitted below 12,000 square feet. All lots in the subdivision shall have access to urban services. Easements, constraints, reserved land to be shown and marked on the plat. Plat shall include all easements, constraints, reserved land to be shown marked on the plat in Golden Tee Estates 11th edition. This is also a condition of approval. Depth to width ratios of more than 3.2 to 1 for lots less than 300 feet wide and not more than 4.2 for lots that should say 400 feet wide. and the angle of intersection with fronting roads between 85 and 95 degrees for lots and width less than 100 feet in width. The associated approved PUD, condition A7, number 5, on file for C832-05 was approved with a deviation permitting depth to width ratio and angle of intersection requirements. Submerged lands, not to be counted towards density calculations. The subject parcel doesn't contain any submerged lands, so this piece of the code isn't applicable. Lots less than 1 acre in size require urban services. The will serve letter received from TIC Utilities LLC and affiliated with Valiant LLC, Idaho LLC, confirming that it has significant capacity to provide water. Gem State Infrastructure confirmed that it has significant capacity to provide wastewater service to all the lots in the proposed subdivision. Moving on to the water supply, as we mentioned, a will serve letter has been received from TIC Utilities confirming that it has significant capacity to provide water to all lots in the proposed subdivision. Back to the sewage disposal, Gem State Infrastructure confirmed that it has significant capacity to provide wastewater service to all the lots in the proposed subdivision. This is also a condition of approval. A fire risk assessment is required. That was provided and submitted with this application, that the applicant is proposed to provide an approved water and fire hydrant system per Bonner County Revised Code 12-623 D1. And this is a condition of approval as well. So unique road names for new roads, Idaho Club Drive will be extended to the proposed lots. So that's an existing right-of-way currently. Roads to be designed to meet private road standards per BCRC Title 12 Appendix A. The associated approved PUD, condition A7, number 4, on file C832-05 was approved with a deviation permitted to construct the private roads to a minimum of international fire code standards and to be paved. This is also a condition of approval. Legal access to each proposed lots. All lots been proposed have direct frontage on the extension of North Idaho Club Drive, which is a private road. For lots less than 5 acres in size should have direct frontage and direct access to public roads are required. The associated approved PUD, condition A7, number 4, on file for C832-25 was approved with a deviation permit to construct private roads to meet the minimum international fire code standards and to be paved. This is a condition of approval as well. Trails and parks. Bonner County currently does not have an adopted trails plan. This proposal is not adjacent to any public access points of ingress or egress. Trails and parks. Proposal does not offer any public access, parks, and facilities. Natural hazards. Subdivision to be designed around identified natural hazards. The project has been reviewed to meet the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 7, and this is part of the analysis we'll go over this afternoon as well. 1262B, conformance with 12.7, which is Chapter 7 again. We will review that in detail as well a little bit later. Application form, the applicant submitted the required application for the subdivision. The preliminary plat is required to be prepared by a licensed Idaho surveyor. This was done as well. Plat content, subdivision name, geographic grid, north arrow, vicinity map, vicinity road pattern. These elements are all included on the submitted preliminary plat. Boundary line of tract to be subdivided, intersection property lines, abutting roads, names and address of adjoining property owners shown on their respective places of ownership on the plat. These elements are all included in the submitted preliminary plat. Location, dimensions of area, proposed lots, and lot numbering. The surveyor systematically numbered each lot with the dimensions and locations. Locations, dimensions, and tentative names of proposed streets and roads. The preliminary plat indicates that the proposed road will be an extension of North Idaho Club Drive, and an existing 30-foot wide approved private road. Significant contours to show the shape in the land and extending at least 100 feet beyond the proposed subdivision limits. Preliminary plat shows the contour lines of Lower Pack River Road, North Idaho Club Drive, Lot 1, Golden Tee Estates, 11 Addition, and the golf course. Sticking with plat contents, location of water courses, floodplains per firms or base flood elevations. The parcels are located within special floodhazard zone X and are not located within a floodway per firm panel 16017C 0735E with an effective date of November 18, 2009. Existing wells, springs, wetland boundaries, wetland delineations, drainage channels, overhead, underground utility line structures, sanitary sewers, and culverts within the tract. This proposal does not contain any of the mapped wetlands and is not adjacent to any mapped wetlands. Proposed method of water supply, sewage, and solid waste. The notes portion of the preliminary plat indicates that TIC Utilities LLC will be the provider of water. Gem State Infrastructure will provide sewage disposal. Solid waste disposal is either the county transfer station or a private contractor. All easements of record, including significant data to identify conveyance. Conveyance of easements can be found in the notes portion of the preliminary plat and in the subdivision guarantee. Purpose indicated for parcels reserved for public dedication or common use of property owners. Note 13 of the preliminary plat indicates the dedication of Lot 10 to the property owners for common use. This is a condition of approval. Statements of intended use for the parcels or the lots. Note 4 of the preliminary plat indicates the lots and are proposed to be single-family residential lots. Road design and profile. Preliminary road design and profile prepared, stamped, and signed by a licensed Idaho licensed engineer. A preliminary road design and profile plan has been prepared by James A. Solon Associates and is concurrently under review with the Bonner County Engineering Department. Application filed in accord with 12268. The applicant submitted the required application for the subdivision. Public hearing. A public hearing has been scheduled as required in accordance with subchapter 2.6 of Title 12. That's why we're here today. The validity of the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat shall be valid for a period not to exceed 2 years. This is also a condition of approval. Plat to be prepared by registered civil engineer. 2 copies to be provided. Upon approval of the preliminary plat, the applicant shall submit a plan prepared by a registered civil engineer. This is a condition of approval. Standards for review, BCRC 1265 standards are found in the conditions of approval and conclusions of law in the staff report. Final plat contents are not applicable at this stage. Endorsements on the final plat are not applicable at this stage of the project. Shorelines, the subject property does not front on any contained water bodies. Getting into the environmental factors here with the grading, stormwater management, and erosion control. The applicability in this section, all new subdivisions subject to provisions of Chapter 6 of this title as amended, and all new planned unit developments subject to the provisions of Chapter 2, Subchapter 2.5 of this title as amended, except as provided for in subsection 12, 720.3J of the subchapter. Stormwater management report and erosion control plans prepared by James A. and Associates. Plans are currently being reviewed by Bonner County Engineer Department. So wetlands, delineation, buffer, and setbacks is not applicable, as this law does not contain any of those. Wildlife, Idaho Department of Fish and Game did not have any comments on this proposal. The subdivision is part of a planned unit development, Golden Tee Estates. It was designed with a 17% open space, which is approximately 151 acres of the 879 acres of the development area. The proposed residential density was approved through the planned unit development. Moving on to flood damage prevention. Parcels located within the special flood hazard zone X and not located within a floodway per the firm panel 16017C 0735E and the effective date of November 18, 2009. Hillsides geotechnical survey requirements. The proposal does not contain any mapped slopes over 30% as a condition of approval. Geotechs. The following agencies did reply with comments: Bonner County Road and Bridge Department, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Idaho Department of Fish and Game, Idaho Department of Transportation, and Lake Pend School District submitted comments. We got one no comment from Kootenai Pend Sewer District. No other agencies notified this request replied. As the date of this staff report, public comments were received on this request. Zoning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 3-0. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner Williams?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Donkey, do you have any questions?
None at this time, thank you.
Neither do I. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll for this guy.
Yeah, I have it.
Is legal on the Zoom? No?
I can see if I can get it.
Are we
Mayor,
allowed to ask
Mr.
any questions?
Not yet.
Mr. Grimm might know the answer to it, so I'll ask you.
Not an
but
attorney.
I know you're not an attorney, but because this is an old one that goes back quite a bit of time with some letters from 2006, so I have some questions on that. And so maybe you weave it in or whatever.
I will try my best to weave that in.
Thank you.
Let's see here. We'll just try to do our best here. Okay. Commissioners, thank you very much. Jeremy Grimm with Whiskey Rock Planning and Consulting, representing NIC Development on this application for preliminary plat file S0004-24. This afternoon, I am presenting for your consideration a 23-lot preliminary plat within the original Idaho Club Plan Unit development. This next phase is entirely consistent with the original 2005 Idaho Club PUD phased approval and reflects another step of implementation of that long-range plan, which included originally 498 dwelling units at full build-out on 879 acres. Although the original PUD contemplated and was approved with this density, based on amendments and changes that have occurred, in all likelihood, the total number of units at build-out will be significantly lower, about 375, so about 120 fewer dwelling units than originally approved for. Just some key points here. The 2005 approval of the Idaho Club PUD established the framework for this multi-phase development, including allowances for smaller lot sizes, private paved roads, and construction of roads to international fire code standards rather than Bonner County road standards. Conditions of approval in the CUP, including condition A7-4, explicitly permit private roads to be built to minimum IFC standards, which is the acceptable standards for this and subsequent phases and previous phases, not the current Bonner County road standards. The Golden Tee 11th edition lies entirely within the approved boundaries of the Idaho Club PUD, and as I mentioned, this is a logical and orderly continuation of the club's master plan. The PUD established this balanced design. There's over 150 acres of open space, and the thoughtful design ensures that development maintains a strong conservation character while supporting resort-style amenities. To veer off a little bit, the Idaho Club provides numerous economic benefits to Bonner County. It remains one of Bonner County's premier destinations, contributing to the local economy through tourism, employment, and home construction. Each phase directly benefits local trades, contractors, and suppliers while expanding the county's tax base. Beyond the economics, the Idaho Club has long served as a community partner, hosting numerous charitable golf tournaments and events that have raised millions of dollars for nonprofits in Bonner County. Looking at the infrastructure, the club and the proposed phase includes full urban services. These are available and confirmed. And Commissioner Williams, to your question, I think it would be appropriate that for final plat, we bring you an updated letter on those will serves, updated letter. That's not a problem. But the project is served by community water, by TIC Utilities, stands for the Idaho Club, and community sewer provided by Gem State Infrastructure with DEQ authorization. So as mentioned, fire protection by Northside Fire. There are hydrants and flows meeting IFC requirements. Road designs were prepared by James A. Sewell, Scott Brown's company, who is here in the audience today and can answer engineering-specific questions for you. And I want to emphasize that the private road design does comply with the PUD's approved deviation under that original condition A74. All lots have direct street frontage and emergency access to Lower Pack River Road, ensuring safe circulation and emergency access. From an environmental side, the site contains no mapped wetlands or floodplains, and slopes are below 30%. The stormwater and erosion control plan were prepared by Mr. Brown, who is a PE with James A. Sewell & Associate. He has decades of local experience designing stormwater in Bonner County. The design accounts for on-site soils and incorporates detention, infiltration, and controlled release to ensure that post-development runoff will not exceed pre-development flow rates. You do have in the record some questions from Mr. Schaff of the Davalier Law Group representing neighbors. I would point out that there has been no expert evidence, just layperson's suggestions that the design and plans are inadequate. I would encourage you to listen to the experts who are licensed in this arena. I just want to point out also that the county engineer has performed a review. Unfortunately, as you may be aware, we just received some of those documentations last night. I don't fault that. I know things can happen. But what I would say is those county engineers' comments, some of them don't take into account the CUP variations and flexibility in the CUP. He probably wasn't aware of that. But more importantly, those comments that the county engineer made, those are pretty typical and customary for comments and elements that would be required of the final plat. I want to emphasize this is a preliminary plat. Preliminary plats don't have final design and those levels of detail. This is the step for us to move forward. I want to talk about the density and the character. There have been comments from the public and attorneys that the proposal is inconsistent with the area's character and that the density is not aligned with the original approval. And I'll show you some pictures in just a second. It's part of the record showing the original layout, site plan, and plat, which showed that there were 24 lots located on this area, in this phased area. I just want to talk about the comprehensive plan. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan as was found by the the zoning commission last month. We've had numerous agency reviews and opportunities for comment, including DEQ, Northside Fire, ITD, and IDFG. We want to emphasize that the zoning commission did consider this on August 21st and voted unanimously to recommend approval and relevant adopted findings and conclusions. So as we move forward, just in summary, this request does represent a continued and anticipated evolution of the Idaho Club's PUD. I believe this is the last phase of the Idaho Club in terms of the subdivision. It's consistent with the approved master plan and the approved CUP. During that time, obviously, there have been fits and starts, including a bankruptcy, new owners, but the plan has been carried forward and moved forward as originally contemplated. And I just want to emphasize that the Idaho Club has been proven to be a cornerstone of the Bonner County community. Not only charitable support, but it provides economic opportunity and maintains high environmental standards. So with that, I just want to show you a couple photos here specifically related to some of the concern. Obviously, what you see before you here is just the overall layout of the Idaho Club. You can see those colors are various phases of the subdivision, and that red circle is the phase that we are talking about right now. Here we go, full screen. Ah, beautiful. We've got phases on the north side of the highway, and we've got phases on Moose Mountain on the southern side of the highway. And in total, they represent the original concept. So just on the history, I did mention that the original CUP approval way back in 2006 that talks about all the various phases and the deviations from code. I mentioned A7 is one of those conditions, 4, which allows private roads to be constructed at minimum IFC standards rather than the Bonner County road standards. And then I also want to call attention to your site-specific plat conditions. C2 talks about building envelopes, setbacks, buffer areas, and other development design features shall be shown on the final plat. So again, this is just emphasizing that preliminary plat is a first step, final plat is where you are responsible for making sure that everything is met based on comments. And then C7, it talks about prior to the recording of each phase, the road improvement shall be constructed and certified in writing by a professional engineer as complete in accordance with IFC and shall be constructed to the satisfaction of Northside Fire District prior to recording the final plat. So again, I just want to take out of your mind that these things occur at the preliminary plat stage. It's customary and typical that these are conditions on approval of the preliminary plat that would put these to the final platting stage. As I mentioned, the original density was 498 units. I just received a text from Mr. Hamerman, the representative here, and he said that it's 375 is their anticipated total build out. Again, this is the site that we're talking about to the west of the 12th hole, if you're familiar with the Idaho Club. And this is what I wanted to bring up. This is from 2006, the approved site plan. So you can see, let me find us here. Where are we? The highway. Give me just a second to order. Oh, so if you follow my cursor, this is the highway coming through, Highway 2. And here's the 12th hole here. You can't really see my cursor, but this area here is what we're talking about. And I have a zoom in on the next slide. So at the time, this was called Phase 7. Here's the 12th hole here, north-south, and this green area is the original, you can see the stamp from the county, the original layout of that with those densities. So just wanted to emphasize that despite assertions otherwise, this is the original concept intent that was approved and passed by Bonner County. So just the summary takeaway, the proposal does implement an existing approved planned unit development. The Idaho Club PUD swiftly allows private roads to be built to fire code standards, not the Bonner County road standards. It also reduces the minimum lot size to provide flexibility for this overall site. These layouts and densities are consistent with the prior approvals, including, as I just showed you, the 2006 plat showing 24 lots in this area. Agencies have been notified, concerns or objections. Material ones have been raised. Stormwater and soils have been addressed by a licensed Idaho engineer with a detailed plan to be finalized before final plat. Zoning Commission unanimously approved. County engineer comments are very valued and appropriately handled as a condition of final plat approval. And just to emphasize, the project does provide quality housing, maintains open space, it's consistent with Title 12 in the comprehensive plan. And with great respect, we ask the board to approve the preliminary plat and carry forward the standards and conditions to the final plat stage. With that, Commissioners, I would entertain questions and also offer Mr. Scott Brown, PE from James A. Sewell and Associates, to answer any design or technical questions that you may have.
Alex, did you get in contact with council? Were they invited to this hearing?
I am not sure if they were invited, but I did chat. Mr. Adams and I were back.
So I understand a lot of kind of what your disclaimer parts were, but when I look on the face of it, I had two questions that it may not be appropriate to ask, but I'm going to put it forward. This is from 2006, essentially with a conditional use permit that has, if you were to do the same thing now, there's been a lot of changes. But specifically, that will serve letter is quite old for where that group is right now in this area in terms of development. And so my question that has a legal implication to it, do you get to use a placeholder from that far ago if you wouldn't achieve that now? Because this board alone has heard people coming over, the same company not doing will serves out there right now because they're saying there's a water problem. And so even though they say that eventually they'll do it, that was where my question was going, because when you say at the time of application, that's fine, but our time of application is quite some time ago from where they are now. And the purpose of the will serve is to make sure, even though the disclaimer is going to be, well, you can't get it finalized until there's that confirmation, there's still that element of it. That was where I was going with the date on that particular letter is antiquated. Just like the conditional use permit is quite old, a lot has changed since 2006. And where does it become a placeholder for development versus us essentially checking off that as the board, we're ensuring all of that safety, health, welfare, economic development on both sides. If we're saying to say approved and not say it was approved in 2006, we're almost 10 years from the approval. That is where my questions were of, does this board just say, doesn't matter, there's no time limit on a conditional use permit, so if it was approved, then it stays. It doesn't matter at what time a will serve letter comes in, and if things change, it is what it is, and that this stage moves past it. That's really what when I was asking those for the dates, which I understand you're not legal, but that was what popped to my mind is the dates of this, noting that this type of a large-scale development doesn't happen in a number of years and things happen, but is there not an expectation, and should it be reasonable to say, it's been almost 10 years, we should get an updated will serve, especially if the county is hearing from this service provider that they're not giving will serves at this time in this community, and then you look at the number, or is the answer that because we already conditionally approved it, we gave, when we're looking at the person today, we're calculating that we've already given that approximate number. That I don't know. That's where my quandary was, because they don't explain that, they just get a letter. And my problem is when we're talking about what's available, that's part of what we're supposed to check off, and this data is antiquated, and I'm not supposed to see it in your file and call and say, but did you? I'm supposed to address it in this hearing, and there's some missing players on that. And so if anybody wants to offer that between, and you might know the answer to, or
We'll try to tag team that.
Mr.
I'll start, Commissioner Williams and Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Domke on remote. You bring up valid questions. I would separate them into two pieces. The first one is the will serve. Anytime an entity, a utility is providing a will serve, there are elements associated with that, such as something called the declining balance. Have you given away all your capacity? And you make the very, very valid point that, what if the utility gave us a will serve decades ago and subsequently mismanaged their system, and now that capacity is not there, right? And that would be a problem. In this case, we have both entities that are, and Idaho DEQ, that I believe will provide a will serve before we came in for a final plat. We do have them. You'll notice the date on this file was S24. That means this was applied for in 2024. As of that time, there were no incongruities to the will serves. I think it's appropriate, and I think we would be fine with you just simply stating a will serve be supplied, updated will serve be supplied at time of filing for final plat.
So I'm going to clarify is I agree that there's an update of 2024 on some of this paperwork, but it is not the date of the will serve. The will serve doesn't have evaluation of current. That's what my question was, and I hear your answer on that, and it's one of those. It's not clear because we don't have expiration dates. We just say request it when you apply for it, not accounting for a project could take over a decade to complete, and that's where we are because this has had a bankruptcy in it that caused a significant stop, and now we're coming back to completing this. But do you get to use that same document? And in part, it's also in the builders, it's their risk to do it and then be told no, but it's part of the application process. So,
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Williams, just a follow-up there. So I do not expect there to be any problems providing an updated will serve by the time final plat is approved. But keep in mind, preliminary plat basically allows the property owner, the developer, to continue. As you know, we have a very lumpy, construction season here. So these approvals are, at least for the preliminary stage, are essential so folks can plan accordingly. But I don't see any concerns at this time bringing you, making the will serves and updated will serves with current dates at the time of final plat submission.
I understand the reason we do it, but I can equally say a builder came in and said, can we remove that requirement because it will be met at the time of final plat, and it slows me down from being able to build because they are saying that they can't give me a will serve now.
Yeah.
And so I see it, and that's the reason it caught my eye, is because someone has come to the board asking us to remove that process for that reason and pinning it to just the final plat because it slows down if they're not willing to get that, or they can't give that out. So
I can say that the property owner is in constant communication with Idaho DEQ, and that we have communication from DEQ suggesting that there will be no concerns. There's a specific set of steps that the sewer utility and the water utility have to take. As you may or may not know, these are facility plans. Sometimes facility plans need to be tweaked and updated, sometimes minor, sometimes major things. But right now, the applicant, property owner, as well as TIC Utilities and Gem State have no reason to believe that any of the capacity designed for is diminished. And it's a matter of just walking through a few steps with DEQ on their facility plans to update those. Again, that should be all completed in the next couple months. Well ahead of any time for a final plat. And as I've mentioned twice now, making that a condition on final plat approval ensures that we don't get a final plat unless we have those, and that you have safeguarded the public's interest in ensuring that those will serves and that capacity is there, because we can't sell the lots until we have a final plat.
it is already a condition, though.
Yes.
This is the thing that was being asked of the county, and this is where Nate Adams is the attorney for the board. So the question that I posed, is this particular file is older. So it has a conditional use permit from 2006 with a will serve letter from 2022. And so is there, and it might not be an answer that you can answer now. So my issue was knowing that there on the Idaho Club specifically, there have been issues with Gem State giving out will serves, even though we've had, I don't think you were here when a developer came forward and asked the board, can you guys not ask for it at this lake, but just do it at the end for a final plat so it doesn't slow down development because Gem State's having an issue. So this particular project is using a will serve from 2022. It's not a current one, and we're using a conditional use permit from 2006. Is that reasonable to use? And I'm saying it could be a yes, it could be a no. I'm trying to make sure I check that box off because we're charged with making sure we address issues and concerns, and this is information that is from a prior time with the rules that have changed quite a bit since that time frame. But
Right.
specifically, we know about the will serve issue on this particular, and Grimm, sorry, I was gonna say, is not wrong that it does say at the end, but the reason that you have the will serve at this stage is so that they can move forward with the project. Without the will serve, if they didn't have that will serve from 2022, and they didn't have a new one moving forward, we would have to say, well, you don't have the will serve. But it's an old will serve.
Right. That is a great question. I am not prepared to answer right now.
Okay,
Let me take a look at that, and I can get back to you on that
all
one.
right, thank you.
And Mr. Brown, do you have anything to add to what I've said at this point? So again, I would just conclude that question, Commissioner Williams, just by saying, by conditioning a new will serve at the time final plat submission prior to approval, that assures that you have checked the box, you maintain the public interest, that the development has the capacity to be served by urban services. And at this point, I have no belief or knowledge why those will serves wouldn't be updated.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Commissioner Domke, do you have any questions?
I don't have questions. I have comments for our deliberation on the same topic, so I'll wait until we get to that point.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners. We are excited to complete the Idaho Club and bring it to a close.
At this time, we'll open up for public comment. Do we have anybody in the room or online in support of? Seeing none. Do we have anybody in the room or online with a neutral comment?
Your hand went up first.
You're better looking than I am.
I think we should start betting on are they really neutral or not, but.
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to.
Could you please state your name and where your county residence, please?
My name is James Ziola. I live on Tubman Lane, above Lower Pack River Road. And I just want to ask a question about proposed lots 10 and 11, which are a swamp 2 or 3 months out of the year. And the reason they're a swamp is there's a mountain on the other side of Highway, Lower Pack River Road. And that water comes down with the snow melt. And also there are springs that are in there. And of course, heavy rains and so forth have something to do with it. But there's some lots that are being developed, and one excavator's been working on it for like 2 years. And their problem is there's like waterfalls coming down there, even in the summertime, and they have to tube all that stuff off, and it's really quite an interesting situation. So, plus there's water coming down from the upper lots that are being proposed that settle in there. And I just want to make sure everybody understood that water, in the last meeting I went to, I don't think they understood that the water's coming down from the mountain under Lower Pack River Road. And I have a picture of one of the gullies that go down from Highway 200, and also a picture of lots 11 and 10. Of course, we're the best customer for Northern States Pest Control because it's a mosquito trap. And these mosquitoes around here in Idaho are not very friendly. So my question is, is anybody aware of that, or is anybody thinking about maybe fixing that or doing something about it? I don't think you want a swamp in there for 2 or 3 months. And we've been there for years, and it's every year. There's nothing new. And there's a little creek in there that runs for 3 or 4 months. So does somebody say something then that, yeah, I'm going to do something about it, I'm not going to do something about it? I'm not sure how all this works, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
My name's Ted Grafton, and I live on Lower Pack River Road. And I have a concern talking about the roadway, whether they're going to be accessing into Lower Pack. And if so, I think there will have some problems because Lower Pack right now has a problem with the congestion it's getting already, that coming down from rapid lightning. And so I don't know if they're planning on connecting into Lower Pack, or if they're just going to have another outlet to Highway 200, which that may be a problem too with all the traffic out there. I also have a concern about the water and septic or sewer, because the water's not that good of source, and they got one pump. And from my understanding, what I've heard, that these will be connected into the same source that we use from Lower Pack, because the housing on Lower Pack. And they have one pump, and we've been concerned about when the power goes out, what takes place. And because they don't have a generator there, and they said, well, we've got a storage on top of the hill, and that's been adequate. They said it lasts for about 2 weeks, but there's been a lot of building out there and a lot of homes, being sold and more people. And so I have a question whether that is suitable for the new developments that are coming along, and also with the septic and the sewer there, where more people are going to be adding more stuff, and that. So those were my concerns.
Thank you. Is there anybody else with a neutral comment? Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Commissioners, in present and online. Name is Gary Henson, and I live on Lower Pack River Road in Bonner County. Again, lots 11 and 12 directly affect the folks living off in the Hidden Lake subdivision. I agree with Mr. Grimm that experts bring a lot of value to the table, but I would ask the board not to dismiss just out of hand laypersons who have daily, weekly, monthly, yearly experience actually living in these locations. I'm not a trained meteorologist, right? I don't have an advanced degree in meteorology, but I know when it's raining. So again, as James said, there is water issues for lots 11 and 12. The density issues, I think, has been talked about. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else with a neutral comment? Seeing none, we will go to anyone that has a opposed comment online or in the room.
Barda Cameron, 260 North Idaho Club Drive. Mr. Grimm mentioned that there would be direct access from this new plot of land to Lower Pack River Road. And so far, we've heard that it's going to be down North Idaho Club Drive, which we have a problem with speed limits already. And we're concerned with if there's townhouses or condos, they'd be smaller and more people than a house would, and there'd be even more traffic going down our street. And the other point is we have had water issues, and I'm glad that you asked, Ms. Williams, about the newer reports, because I think that's very important, because we were asked when we moved in to put a filter for the water because they were having trouble with the wells. So we bought this expensive filter that filtered our water. And then like the next year, they said, oh, we've redone the wells. You don't need the filter anymore. So we were out $5,000 for this new filter. So that's our conditions.
Thank you. Any other opposed comments? Seeing none, we will close public testimony. Applicant? Excuse me.
Can I go grab one thing real quick?
Yep.
I think it might be on my desk. Two screens aren't always.
You got paper?
I had to print it.
Oh, my gosh.
Couldn't bring another screen in. It's a reminder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I heard that this is a swamp infested with mosquitoes. And I would say my client takes a very different perspective of this and would caution anyone to describe people's land in derogatory terms like that. Moving forward, though, I want to bring a couple of things to your attention. First, in terms of the water, the flow under the road, the toe of the hill, the mountain, again, I don't know what a landowner or developer, private property owners is supposed to do other than hire a professional per your code to develop infrastructure and a site to the standards that you identify. You've set the bar, you've set the rules, you've set what we need to achieve. And for specific questions, I don't know if Mr. Brown can speak to that in a second about the drainage, but we firmly believe that we have met the criteria and the standard for preliminary plat approval as it relates to site design and stormwater and road, et cetera. There was a lot of discussion. Somebody mentioned septics. These are not septic systems. This is proposed to connect to urban services, a water system owned by TIC Utilities, and I just checked my file. I do have a 2024 will serve from TIC Utilities, January 18th, so more recent than the one you mentioned. It's my understanding that was in the file for the water side. And for the sewer side, the Gem State utility has worked with DEQ, has worked with the property owner, and every document I've seen has shown that there is a very clear and achievable path to have updated will serve within, I don't know the exact dates, but certainly prior to final plat submission. As I had mentioned, there are some tweaks to the facility plan. The capacity of the system was constructed to meet that 490 plus units. The actual development will be 120 units below what the system is designed for. So the property owner, my client, has no concern. TIC Utilities have no concern about the ability to provide urban services to this development. And then finally, there were some comments about pumps and generators and storage. All of those issues, because this is a utility governed by Idaho DEQ, are managed and regulated by the state. So despite some of those suggestions or ideas that were thrown out, I would encourage you to leave it to the state to regulate their district utilities because it's their authority. So with that, Scott, anything to say about the water drainage? This is Mr. Scott Brown, PE from Sewell and Associates.
So my name's Scott Brown. I designed the civil infrastructure plans for this project. And I'll just touch on the drainage a little bit. So at this stage in the ballgame, what we do is we do stormwater management plans, which is required by Bonner County Code for the developments itself, the new infrastructure that's going in to create the development, i.e. the road system in this particular case, which we've done, and we've designed stormwater management, conveyance, ditches, swales, and the water is then directed to stormwater swales, which the stormwater swales are the type of them and the way they're designed are meet the intent of the code, but also meet all the preferred BMPs that the state of Idaho Department of Environmental Quality puts out there. It's a big book, which back in the 90s, I remember when Bonner County actually adopted a stormwater management code, they used those guidelines as part of what they put into that code. And so we still follow that as well. And then the questions about, water flowing underground and things like that, I can't say we've investigated that, but in most cases, those are investigated when it's time to actually develop one of the lots. And I know that there are different ways to mitigate that, such as, putting under-drain systems in that'll catch the water below ground and, transfer it somewhere else. But that would be up to more like a geotechnical engineer to get into that. As far as electricity problems with sewer pumps, the way that this development is set up is that each individual lot has a pump station and a septic tank. And there is a central pump station, which I believe is what one of the folks here was worried about when the power goes out. Well, when the power goes out, it's going to go out on everybody's pump because everybody has a pump. So at that time, there wouldn't be any sewage being pumped to that station. I don't know the system, overly well because I didn't design the actual, gem state system, but just knowing that everybody else is on a pump too, that's kind of, in my opinion, what would happen if the electricity went out. Are there any questions for me?
I don't have any.
On the site where they're saying site number 11 and 12 are flooded months out of the year, is that your understanding of those? And is it, you have a comment on what the public had to say on those too?
No, I can't say that I've went and looked at those specific lots before because it's really at this point not, under our purview. Our purview is to make sure that whatever is done at this stage of the development, the subdivision itself, is taken care of for drainage parameters.
But it's not a wetland though, which is the.
Well, I wouldn't know if it's a wetland or not, but
was-
it's not on the wetland inventory map, so I can tell you that.
Yeah, that'll work. Thank you.
So again, thank you, commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to address the important questions that have arisen. And again, the path forward to conclude this wonderful addition to Bonner County is to condition anything that has been raised as a condition of the final plat. That puts the full responsibility on the developer, my client, and ensures that Bonner County is not approving a final plat which authorizes those lots to be sold until these items are addressed. I don't see any of them being significant. The level of detail that has been supplied in this application is customary and typical to the preliminary plat stage of a development, and those additional items are typical for the final plat approval. So with that, entertain other questions and appreciate your support and recommendation of approval for this final phase of the Attica. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Where am I?
Commissioner Williams.
All right, Mayor.
Well, you're jumping around. You're chairman now.
No. So the traffic study was done on this to address the concern that were brought forward. but the traffic study was done in 2005 and said in 20 years, this is what we would expect to see. Do you see any change? Because we are at that mark of when we did, and that's part of what my question is a lot of what we did in terms of conditional use is now older, but with respect to the traffic study, a public comment specifically brought forward those concerns. But in about 22 days, we've hit the limits of that study.
Yeah. That's a valid question, Commissioner Williams. What I'd say is all the traffic, all the assessments of the utilities, the traffic, that's the beauty of a planned unit development is back in the day, Mr. Reeves brought the county a full package vision of this development. Here's the golf course, here's the open space, here's the lots, here's the design, here's the system that's going to service it, here's the traffic. So the only thing that's materially changed since that original is actually a almost 20% reduction, more than a 20% reduction in the total density. So all the infrastructure, the roads were all contemplated, built, laid out, or will be. They've been designed for a development that is almost 500 dwelling units. And this development will, the owner has said 375 as platted now would be the maximum that this would ever see. So they've made lots larger. They haven't taken advantage of the clustering that they could have. So based on their preferences, change in ownership, it's going to be a much lower intensity development. But all of your questions about traffic, trips, utilities were predicated on a much more intensive development.
When was the change in ownership?
No,
Roughly.
16 was it? I don't have that off the top of my head.
Between 2010 and today?
Yes.
And so it's going to pop my question back to you later. Okay. All right, that's it.
Well, this is my last time to answer questions.
No,
so-
you're good.
Okay.
You can always answer a question asked by a commissioner at any time, so you're good.
Hold on just a second there, Mr. Green.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Donkey, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
So I have a couple.
Go ahead.
So it was mentioned earlier that maybe it was unclear to some of the public what was going to be presented to be built there. Can you just clarify, is it single-family homes or condos or apartments or?
No, these are smaller, call them cabin-type single-family homes, larger than what you see at Dover Bay, but not enormous homes. I mean, obviously, there are setbacks established in the conditional use permit, so there's a limited building footprint. There's impervious surfaces limitations, so they're I forget the exact square footage, but they're like, I want to say 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Okay. And you mentioned in your first presentation that there was access to, or going to be access to Lower Pack River Road. Is that true?
Emergency access, there's, if you're looking at the site, and I might ask Scott to clarify, I have a few files in my head. So the primary access is North Idaho Drive. Then there's a fire extension or a fire turnaround that I want to say, and I apologize, is going to have emergency access up to the maintenance building. Am I off on that, Scott? Do you recall? And if I'm off of it, just let me know because I'll correct that right now.
And when you answer, can you say, are we saying emergency access as in only emergency access, that it's not a thoroughfare? That
Right,
it's
not
just
a
only-
paved thoroughfare of any sorts, yeah.
At this time, we have not designed any access way between the new access road to this subdivision and Lower Pack River Road. Right now, the direct access for the public is on South Idaho Club Drive. Now, not to say someday that won't be developed, but it's not in our plans to do that right now.
So there's no plan to
Mr. Brown, Mr. Donkey's hand went up, so your back is turned to it, so he might be asking you, and you'll walk back, sorry.
So there's no plan to direct traffic at this time onto Lower Pack River Road?
Not that
No.
I'm aware of.
No. Is there any way to pull up the aerial image? That's what I was trying to describe. And what you'll see if they're able to pull that up is there's an existing gravel road that goes from what is going to be North Idaho Drive to the lower pack. So there we go. If you can just zoom in, you'll see on the southern portion, you'll see the existing gravel. Yeah, closer to the Pack River Road, lower pack. There you go. So you see that there's that road right at the southern portion of that blue shaded area. That's a maintenance road basically right now. So that's not intended to be a primary or even secondary access to this phase, but it is there today. I would imagine bollards or some kind of gate, that could be accessed if there was an emergency. But I think the point here is North Idaho Drive, which is the entire blue little snake you see coming in as would go into the plat as described, is going to be the primary access. It's paved and it has all the required International Fire Code turnarounds and emergency provisions. So I hope I've clarified my misstatement and what's on the ground.
Thank you. Commissioner Donkey, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. I noted that Bonner County Road and Bridge had made a comment requesting that it would be very beneficial since the current right-of-way width for Lower Pack River Road is below our standards today for safe and good maintenance practices. They had requested the proposed lots that front onto Lower Pack River Road to expand the right-of-way easement by 10 feet in that area. I didn't hear that addressed, whether that was something that was being considered and included. So if you could please speak to that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Domke, great question, and I'm going to ask the staff to pull the map back up and zoom into that area, if you don't mind, sorry. So that came up at the zoning commission meeting, and there's two elements of this. The first is in that area, there is a utility improvement. I don't know if it's Verizon. I believe it's Verizon, and staff's going to zoom in right now. You see that? Are you able to see the screen, Commissioner Domke? I assume you are, but right to the right of the red arrow, there's a Verizon, some kind of structure. So that would be within that 10-foot right-of-way. So that presents a problem if this county ever did want to expand. But if we just zoom out a half a click and highlight the parcel, I just want to show you ownership here. The only ownership that we're talking about, as you can see, that fronts the lower pack is that northern portion. I want to say it's about 150 feet, maybe 200 feet, just above that polygon that says parcel. So that's the only portion that actually fronts the lower pack that this applicant would have the ability to dedicate to the county, the additional 5 feet or 5 feet, I think they're asking. But then I bring up the second issue, which is originally when the CUP and the PUD were approved, that was really the appropriate time for the county to make exactions to things such as right-of-way. And if you put yourself in the minds of the property owner, they purchased, and part of their due diligence is they purchased a property based on the perceived entitlements that they had at the time, which included a layout for this master plan development with the boundaries that are there. So I would respectfully say that the moment for the county to exact additional right-of-way for the lower pack passed in 2006 upon the approval of the Idaho Club PUD and CUP.
Understood. Thank you for the feedback.
You bet.
Did you have anything further, Commissioner Donkey?
No further questions for the applicant. Thank you.
The only other point of clarification I would like to ask is what's being asked here today at today's hearing is approval of a preliminary plat. if it is found for some reason that one or two of the lots are not buildable for water reasons or whatever, that would be dealt with before the final plat approval, is that correct?
Well, the county doesn't have standards to prove that a lot, other than, is it a wetland or not? So again, put yourself in the mind of a property owner who says, what are your rules? What are your standards? You don't have a standard that says somebody has to prove that a lot is buildable. I'm not suggesting these lots aren't buildable. In fact, we believe they are totally buildable, but they're not identified on the National Wetlands Map. You don't require geotech unless it's over 30% slope steepness. So hypothetically, if this were platted, final plat, it's really the responsibility of the owner, developer, to market and sell these for whatever characteristics they have, and also for the buyer to know that they're buying a piece of land and they have every right to do studies and investigations on them. But we really look at, from the standards of Bonner County, does it meet the dimensional, the access, the fire, the utilities, and related elements? And if it does, then it meets your standards. And you don't have a standard for swamps or suspected swamps or mosquito areas.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to ask the board at this time, would you guys like to go into deliberation, or would you rather just start working down the worksheet like we have in the past?
I'd like to do deliberation first, because I have some technical questions for legal to answer. And the board might choose that one option where we say, let's work on a worksheet and come back.
Okay.
And I'm equally recognizing that on this one, I just can't remember. I'm trying to Google this one for us, but there's a change of ownership on this. So there's a property owner that developed a plan, and then we have a change of ownership after a conditional use permit is set up. So one, do we transfer the conditional use permit over with no timeline for us to have to go through with changes, that it just stays with the land versus moving over? And if we're doing that, is there an option to say, well, there's a good amount, a lot of what's in that conditional use permit gives a timeline within that permit of what they're anticipating in 20 years, and we are at the 20 years from when it was issued. Is there an option for the board to say, we got to look at the conditions as they are now, because building happened around that permit before it was actually put to use, and those changes in conditions could have made it such that you might have changed things. And so it's not, so I'm equally recognizing that Bonner County sometimes just says it just stays with the land if you want a CUP. But on other things like water rights, we say, nope, you got to reapply if the owner's changed hands. All of what's in these conditions, like I commented on roads, I'm pausing because although no words are being said, my question is interrupted.
I'm playing paralegal, I'm sorry. Helping out with code.
So I'm going to say pause, because in part, I think that maybe our legal wasn't looped into this file, and my questions are actually not germane to what Mr. Grimm has presented, because I can see this plan of this where it fits in with the Bonner County Code. My questions are how old this file is, and pulling all of the approvals and conditions forward that don't have an updated review of those things, and what opportunity does the board have? Because in as much as some of these things will get vetted out, do you just get to say, I got a conditional permit 30 years ago and it remains my placeholder for me to do that same build without review to move forward and say it'll all get worked out in the wash in the end? And in part, the reason I'm asking that is there's a lot of what's even in the write-up from Sewell that gives me a stop at 20 years. I don't have anything that tells me those recommendations that when you look at the zoning that they said, when the the original approval gave that we would abide by conditions that were written 20 years ago that gave me a timeline of 20 years. But I'm outside of those 20 years and we're making a plan moving forward. And I'm wanting to know, is the board just making a decision that says it will always be what it was from that 2006 document? There are no change opportunities, or can the board look at what's in that document and give recommendation for, well, that's antiquated such that it's reasonable or not? Because I can feel the answer from Mayor Grimm is it'll all get worked out in the wash at the final plat. This is just us moving forward, which I do understand that aspect of it. I just want to equally answer, there's no changes that can be made, this is what it is, because my decision on where we go next is basically, mine is more of the rules of it.
I think this is Nate Adams from the prosecutor's office. On Bonner County Code, section 12-221, subparagraph C, it says conditional use permits issued under this title are valid for the life of the use at the location for which the permit was issued unless an expiration date is specified in the conditional use permit or unless a permit has been revoked under this title. Conditional use permits shall be deemed to run with the land to which they are attached, and the terms of the permit shall not be modified or terminated by a change of ownership of the lands. So the fact that it was done 20 years ago and that it has changed ownership doesn't appear to affect the conditional use permit. Now, can you change a conditional use permit? That would be a separate issue that I don't know, but at issue here, it seems to be a 20-year-old conditional use permit and they've changed ownership. That doesn't appear to affect the conditional
When you
use
look
permit.
at the content in the conditional use permit and what was agreed to, it in a way self-imposes some timelines of this for the traffic impact study is good for 20 years. I've hit my 20 years and we haven't started it. So that's kind of the questions I'm on, because I understand what you're saying, but they gave some timelines within some of the analysis of the data that was given that then we use as a condition that is expired by the way in which this is written.
And that could be, I apologize.
No, you're good. So that's where I'm wanting clear. You're saying nothing changes, but are you technically changing it? Are you saying, did we just expire because we didn't do something and we need to revisit the question, for example, of if a I think that's a good example. If the traffic impact study is required and we did that, but we gave it, this is what we expect, but we're outside of that window, does that count as a valid data now today since we're so far away from it then, or no?
I can't talk to the specific conditional use permit since I haven't seen it. However, if there is language in there that limits the duration of the conditional use permit, then that would govern.
It doesn't limit, it just has expired, there's a lot of expired data because of the time frame. So it doesn't say that this conditional use permit expires on this date. It doesn't do that, it's just the information is.
Well, and that could be
and I guess
an expiration date.
Well, and that's my thing is I want, given everything that Mayor Grimm presented, I can see that direction. I want to be clear that, is there something about this CUP that is expired in terms of the way in which some of the language is written? Because we're using some of those in, you have to do, this is a condition of approval.
Sure.
And then specifically on the gem state, that is a will serve letter at the time. So, but it's not, it's just will serve. There's no time constraint on a will serve, even if, I know he's saying it's going to work out in the wash, but that's kind of where I'm stuck on this one this is an old one with stuff that's old in there.
Right. I would have to take a look at it to give a specific opinion on whether this one has a limitation in it or not. But in general, unless there is a limiting language inside the conditional use permit, it would still be effective.
So there, like C4 says, the preliminary plat shall be valid for a period not to exceed 4 calendar years from the date of approval. And I kind of feel like this should be reviewed. This document, for me, should be reviewed because there are some dates in there. And I want to make sure that if we rely on it and we say, yes, it took a while, but it's valid, but there are dates, and there are dates of validity for the preliminary plat in that document. That's kind of
Okay.
where I am, and if legal didn't get a chance to take a look at that, that's my thing. I'm stuck on that, and it does have that dated on your, yeah. Does the board have an issue with pending this to allow legal to review the CUP and the language that's in this document?
So I'm not seeing where you're reading the 20-year part at. If the CUP and the PUD seems to live on with the life of the property, I don't see a problem moving forward. You're speaking about traffic count review. That would be for Highway 200. Is that correct?
That was an example, but where I gave the part that I read that had a different date about the preliminary plat was the preliminary plat shall be valid for a period not to exceed 4 calendar years from the date of approval. At any time prior to the expiration date of the preliminary plat, the applicant may make a written request to the planning director for a single extension of the preliminary plat for a period of up to 2 years. The Board of County Commissioners may consider such request for extension at any regular business meeting. There are expirations in it. That's what I'm asking for us to review.
And the preliminary plat, would that be the one that we're discussing right now, or the one you think that was done in 2006?
That's what he's asking for, and then addressing it at the final. And so I'm asking, does the board have an issue with allowing legal to review this document? Because it's always, I never like when legal doesn't get an opportunity to review. This is an old one, and there's winners and losers of each side of everything. And if legal were to come back and say, I've reviewed it, this is still valid, that makes it a very clean decision in terms of how we deliberate and fill that out. In the document from 2006, it had until 2010 with another 2 years available on the preliminary plat per what the document says. There's some other stuff that might need to be researched on it, but that was, my question came with how old the file is. You said you weren't talking anymore, Mayor Graham, so you're done. Anyhow, what do you think?
So
And I don't like when he said, in the hearing, it's reasonable for Mr. Adams to say he didn't review it, but for me, I always like them to say, I've reviewed it when they're giving advice.
So are we going to ask legal to review all of our planning files going forward? I'm not sure. And if any of the commissioners do have questions or concerns, such as this one, I think it'd be appropriate to let them know ahead of time, because it seems like we keep pushing a lot of these files down the road, and then they keep piling up on us, and then we get 4 at a time.
It's the type of place you're in right now. So like I can't call Jim State and say, tell me that answer. This is the setting. And so sometimes you'll hear prior attorneys that will say, well, I can't answer that question in this setting. So this is the time to ask the question, and if the answer is, I haven't had an opportunity, and in this case, I want to be clear, we have a change of attorney over our planning right now. And so it's not an unreasonable request to say, and in part, he may not have been invited to participate with this hearing, to take a look at this file, to say, let's take a look at that question, because his answer is, I can read you the statute, but I cannot tell you what that document says because I have not seen it for a legal interpretation. And so that is my request. Now, if 2 other commissioners say, I'm going to say I can move forward to do a 2-to-1 decision on it, you can absolutely do that as well.
So then the deciding factor would be Commissioner Domke. So I'm going to call on him to chime in. It's all
Yeah, and I concur with Commissioner Williams. I think the 20-year history of this CUP/PUD does beg some questions in my mind, and it very well may be fine, but I do think there's due diligence that's appropriate to confirm that some of this very dated information is still legally valid and applicable. And again, it may be the case. I'm I'm in agreement with continuing the hearing to allow legal to have time to review and offer their opinion. With that, kind of in parallel, I'll also say that my perspective is it would be in the best interest of the applicant, for my vote, to obtain updated will serve letters associated with their urban services, because the major issue that I have is that in order for us to show conformance with 12-610B minimum lot size requirements, and is also stated within the PUD itself or the CUP itself, it relies on urban services. And so I don't know how we can say the proposed lot sizes are appropriate if we don't have a confirmation of those urban services. And while we have will serve letters, since the date of those will serve letters for water and sewer, we have had, at least on the sewer side, in the last 2 months, public comment and communication between our planning department and Gem State Infrastructure with regard to concerns raised about actual allowing for connections at this time. And so, in my mind, I don't know that I can show conformance with that component of Title 12 without having those will serves confirmed. And so I think this would be a good opportunity for the county to have a level of confidence moving forward with a decision about the legal position, and the applicant to, in my opinion, have had a little bit of time to see if they can get updated will serve letters so that they have a stronger position with which to request approval of the preliminary plat from the county. Because I respectfully disagree with the applicant's representative that it's okay to wait until final plat on this issue, because as I stated, we're being asked to approve a preliminary plat with lot sizes that are contingent upon urban services.
Can I ask, Alex, did this file have a request for an extension for the plat from the 4 years already? I know I've seen that on some, but I don't know this one specifically.
So Alex Van, interim planning director. So with the conditions of the planned unit development, that specific condition is per preliminary plat. So they have to come in and get a preliminary plat for every single development that they do. So it's just a standard condition of a new plat.
I understand that. So for where we are, did they already ask for an extension?
No, because they applied for this specific development in 2024. So the extension only happens when there is
2024.
when a preliminary plat's been approved, but they haven't finished, they haven't gone to final plat.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got,
I think it might be helpful.
Sure, I will allow the comment so we have as much information as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I just, out of my own knowledge, you should be aware that the file for the Idaho Club, what I've seen is probably taller than I am, and I'm 5'9" tall. So when you say legal review, I just want to let you know that could potentially be a $50,000 cost to the county to review the file, because there's been a lot of stuff.
I'm asking him to review the cup. That's.
Yeah, I just want to bring that forward. I just want you to be aware that the file is probably the biggest file in Bonner County, other than maybe Schweitzer.
Thank you. We will still make informed decisions here. Nate likes to read.
All right, so at this time, I guess I will entertain a motion to.
So before we do a motion, though, we need to continue to a date certain, which would probably be the easiest if we have a date available to continue to.
But spot.
In future, he should have been invited to begin with, so. So if we don't have a date certain, we can just renotice it at a later time after he sees this file. And I think on something like this, you might have an option that has some coordination in the prosecutor's office to address a file that is this long, to address what these questions are. So we don't have to do date certain. It was just if that would be preference by planning, because you might have an answer that says, let's go back to see if there's an attorney in the prosecutor's office that knows this file that then could watch this and maybe answer. So what are your thoughts, Alex? Date certain or?
November 12th, at 1:30.
When you say I shut down everything. When you say opening, is there already a planning something on that day?
Yes, that's a regularly scheduled planning meeting. Yeah.
I just don't want to stack so many things there that we can't get
I
through.
was gonna say, there might be one thing we might have to move down the road, but it might be better to move that one down the road anyway. And none of that hasn't been noticed or anything, so it won't be a big lift on our end to cancel anything.
What you could do on November 12th is you could do so you could do the November 12th and do it at 10 a.m. and then ask the board to move that executive session claims update to a different day or time. That would allow you to potentially not move your 1:30 to 3:30 planning hearing. But I don't recommend putting a file like this with one you already have, because it means you're not doing the second one. And you don't necessarily want to pay for noticing.
And Mr. Grimm brought up that he has another file on that date that's more time sensitive than this one.
So, but he could spend the day here and do 10 o'clock. Just across the street. But if you could ask the board to remove the 10 executive session, and then you could do 10 to noon, knowing that Commissioner Corn has got to have lunch before that very lengthy one. So 10 to 2 gives you 2 hours. So there you go, that would work. And then, can we just reschedule, pull the executive session up to 9 o'clock? On that same day? And that would work. That way you gave you enough time, and then we didn't have to bump Mr. Grimm's item.
That should be okay. There is this special meeting with Audrey for the claims batch that day.
That'll be really quick.
Should be all good.
And maybe switch, you can leave that time, and then we can if you did that one first, you can always be late, but you can't be early. So that'll work.
So November 12th at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Claims batches very quickly.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion then. Or you want to do 2 separate motions, or you want to include this one with the last 2 that we're going to do at a different date?
You'll have to open those two up to continue that. You'll have to open those files separately and continue them separately.
We'll have to open them?
Because that makes it continued that we did. Are you ready?
Yep.
Call for a motion on this.
I call for a motion on the continuation of this file.
All right, with respect to file S0004-24, I move to continue to a date certain of November 12th at 10 a.m.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Corn,
Yes?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes?
Commissioner Donkey,
Yes.
Motion passes. So now we'll open up file number AM 0003-25. Can I open both of them?
No, one at a time.
Each one separately. All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion to continue this file until November 10th?
December 10th at
December
1:30.
10th at 1:30.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
December 10th at 1:30.
The file, sorry, the 825 file.
3-25. Any further deliberation on this? Saying none, roll call vote?
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Donkey?
Yes.
Motion passes. I will now open file number ZC 0008-25 and entertain a motion.
I move that we continue this file to December 10th at 1:30.
Second.
Any further deliberation on this? Hearing none, roll call vote?
Commissioner Ford?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Donkey?
Yes.
Motion passes. It is 3:31.